Yep, sounds fine.
All right, welcome everyone. Today we will continue our journey by reading Feng Youlan's A Short History of Chinese Philosophy. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, and I've been taking off for 4 weeks. So right now I'm going to restart, okay, after summer break. Go over the schedule. Last time we were talking about the so-called idealistic wing, or the idealistic wing of Confucianism, Mencius. Okay, so that's on the chapter 7. And today we are continuing talking about another school. Okay, we changed to a different school, so-called the School of Names, okay, which is on chapter 8. And next week, we are going to talk about probably one of the most famous Chinese philosopher of philosophical writing, 道德经, okay, 老子, okay, that's next week, okay. And the week after in July, SK going to continue on our journey for Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14. Remember, we have a chapter 18 chapter. We are to 14. If we do our progress once a month, we will finish by the end of this year. So then we continue Zhuangzi, another Taoism philosophy. So that's the schedule for today, for this week, for today and for this week. So let's go to today's subject. We talk about the School of Names. Okay, Chinese called Ming Jia. Okay, we will talk about why this name called, and just for a brief introduction, the book I'm based is the book called A Short History of Chinese Philosophy, and written by Feng Youlan in 1947 for the when he taught in University of Pennsylvania, 1947. And this one is a concise version, so we call it a short. That means a short history. It means he called it have the whole history in his mind. Okay, so means digest. Okay, condensed. So about the author, okay, Feng Youlan, he lived for a long time, but he lived in China, and we know from 1895 to 1990s, he lived a long life. He really suffered a lot in China. But anyway, I realized, okay, at beginning I picked this book because it's probably one of the few good book about history of Chinese philosophy. And then right now I realize how important he is. I just like to share here, because he probably the first Chinese or first person who really understands Chinese philosophy or Chinese literature, intellectual background, and come to US to write the book to teach. So in today, if you check the Wikipedia or Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, and a lot of internet source talking about philosophy, a lot of idea is from this book. So it doesn't mean his idea is correct, but I just have to say his opinion is quite influential. So I'm happy and I feel lucky to present his work here. So everyone learn or listen or read from his writing. Let's think about how important he is. And it doesn't mean he's right, because a lot of secondary source is copy from his idea. So let's rethink, okay, his idea and see whether or not we can make any improvement or we can challenge him, especially for today. One of in his preface in the book, he talked about his idea is to rewrite the history of Chinese philosophy from a modern perspective. When he talk about modern, means early 20th century, especially today, regarding the school of name, his view actually is different than the most Chinese traditional point of view. Okay, so and then which is the same view when you search the internet or go to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, you got the same view as his view. So you can see he really take the step outside the Chinese tradition to look at Chinese philosophy. So the book has 28 chapters. Some are long, some are short, and then but I decide to go one chapter per week. So total is 28 weeks. Okay, so we are on chapter 8. Okay, so if you pay a little bit attention, you will find out, if you know something. Today we talk about school of name. It's around the Warring State, which is about 300, 400 BCE. Laozi, Zhuangzi, later Mohism, Yin Yang school, Xunzi, the realistic wing of Confucianism, to Han Feizi, which is legalism school. They all in the 300 BCE and before. So you will see half of the book cover, the history cover, is from the Confucius to legalism, which is 300 years. Okay, from 500 BCE to 300 BCE to 200 BCE. About these 300 years, it covers half of pages, and for the rest, 2,000 years is another half. Okay, so it's a little bit. You may see it's strange, but the situation, if we look at the Greek, okay, after pre-Socratic philosophy, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, then they can have the academic philosophy. We go some of them, but pretty soon, there's not much to talk about in Greek philosophy. Then the center shift to Rome, and the important thing become the Stoic philosophy, and then later on come with the Christian philosophy until the Enlightenment. So you can see the trend is very similar to Greek. They have the early booming in philosophy, and then they start to die out. But when I say die out, doesn't mean not important, because people still talking about until today, same as people still talking about Plato, Aristotle, even today, or Stoicism, even today. Even there's not much new development. So same thing, if we want to understand how does people thought in the other side of the world, I mean, China, greater Chinese area, East Asia, we have to spend some time to study this ancient period of time. Okay, so that's for these few weeks, we are going through each school, and then we will start to understand more about this. So that's about the book and everything we are going to start for today. And I will pause for 1 minute. Okay, or less, if you have a question before we start for today's subject. No? Okay, so again, if you when I'm doing the presentation, I'm not able to read the chat. So if you have a question, you should raise your hand. But of course, you are welcome to chat among people. And we have a few participants, very quite knowledgeable, and he or she may be able to answer your question. Okay. So anyway, if you have a question, please raise your hand. So today, I think today's subject is relatively simple. Okay. First, I divided to 5 parts. The first, we were talking about the school of names in general. Why we consider this one is a school. Then we are going to introduce 3 people, 3 philosophers, if you want to call them philosopher. Deng Xi, okay, and Hui Shi, and Gongsun Long. That's 3 philosophers. And then finally, we are going to talk about the significance of the school of names. Why? What's our view on that? And at the same time, if we have time, I might introduce Zeno of idiom, okay, about his paradoxes. I see that's quite similar, a lot of similarity between school of names and Zeno of idiom. Okay, so unfortunately, Zeno of idiom's paradox has been discussed through the Western philosophical history. Okay, but the school of name probably not being well studied through the Eastern or Asian philosophy. Okay, so that's the thing we might think about how important of the school of names. So again, we always go to the background. So right now, from now on until for next 2 months, okay, we will focus on the warring states. Okay, this period of time is between 400 to 200 BCE during this 200 years. And that's the time in China, in the central land of China, have a lot of schools, a lot of different thought coming out. Okay. So that's what we will focus during this period of time. If you want to consider in the Greek world, you may consider as almost the same period of time, right? About 400 BCE. That's the Peloponnesian Wars, 30 tyrants rule during that time. Socrates, Plato, they are active during this period of time. So it's similar, have the similarity here. I always show the map, and the purpose is, let's see, about 500 BCE in China. Actually, it's only like by 1/3, a quarter the size of today's China. That's about 200 plus state. And then 200 years later, or around 300 BC, it's roughly have the 7 large states. So you can see the states merge, and so the merge of state never peaceful, right? They always come with some wars, and the war, oh, nobody like war, and during the war, people always have some ideas. Okay, so that's why we have many schools come out. So I like to list the timetable. Okay, see, I think all the philosopher and the school we will talk here, except this one school of the diplomacy. Okay, if we list all these school by time, okay, from earliest time to Han Fei before the unification of China, you will notice at the beginning we talk about Lao Tzu, Confucius, Analect, and Mohists we talk about. Okay, their philosophical style is teaching. It's more like a teacher teach the student. Okay, so they kind of try to tell you the idea. And around 300 to this period of time, okay, we already talk about Mencius. He's argumentative, okay, he debate. We will see today Hui Shi, okay, in the school of name, and another one, Gongsun Long, also considered as school of name. 2 weeks from now, we talk about Zhuangzi. His Taoism. Their style, and including Mencius, okay, is Confucian school. during this period of time, I consider from 350 BCE to about 250 BCE, okay, this 100 years, because this period of time is the dynamic, political dynamics. The number of states reduced from 200 plus to about 7. So during this time, their philosophical style is kind of debated. So all these philosophers, you will find out they are in a way of debating, defend, argument against other school. So that will be the period of time, you will find out debating is important. And then that's how the school of name come to exist. Because Hui Shi and Gongsun Long, in a sense, they are debater. They kind of focus on the method of debating. All right. So that's the idea. Come out this one. So after this period of time, we will read, okay, Xunzi, another Confucian school, and Han Fei's, the legalism school. During that time, it's very clear. In China, only have 7 states. One of them is going to become the most powerful. So the situation become relatively simple. So during that time, they don't debate that much. They kind of writing their idea as an essays. So in Xunzi and Han Fei's, you start to see their philosophical style, or how do they philosophize. They are using essay in modern days essay. They have an opening. They make their point. They reject other philosophies' idea, then draw the conclusion, then they have a suggestion what we need to do. So become a modern days essay. So today we are deal with, and also next week, we deal with Zhuangzi. They are debater. And today is a little bit special, is this school is focused on the method of debating, not just debate for their idea. Let's go back to the so-called the sixth school. If you start from the chapter 1 at the beginning, just repeat, they have the Ru school, so-called the Confucianism school, legalism school, Taoism, okay, Mohism, school of them, Yin Yang school. We already talked about Confucian school, about Confucius and the Mencius, and we have Xunzi, another Confucian scholar we haven't talked about. Legalism, we haven't talked about. Wait until probably next month, Han Fei. Okay, so even they have the long tradition. Okay, in general, they are too busy to working for the government to write their essay until Han Fei. Okay, Taoism. Next week we deal with Laozi, and the week after we deal with Zhuangzi. Okay, so and then this school lasts to mere Taoism, and then today become religious Taoism. Mohism, we talk about Mohists, okay, who is around the same time as Confucius. And then a few weeks later, we are going to deal with later Mohism. And then Mohism school stopped. Okay, it's not mentioned in Chinese history. Same as school of names. Okay, it's quite active during this period of time, around 300, 400, 300 BCE. 2 philosophers we were going to deal majorly, Hui Shi and Gongsun Long, these 2 persons. And then because of the Confucians become popular in China, so this school usually being labeled as sophist. Okay, and then the scholar didn't pay much attention to them. So this school kind of stopped. Okay, this one. So today we kind of like consider as apology, okay, for this school. And then finally we talk about Yin Yang school. Okay, that's another school. We can say people still talk about today, and it's hard to identify who is the philosopher in the Yin Yang school. So here's the sixth school. We will spend time to deal with all this school, and then today we deal with school of names. That's for today. So if we read the book, Feng Youlan mentioned about the name, okay, why it's called school of names, okay. So the Chinese name, the term called Ming Jia, okay, has sometimes been translated as sophist and sometimes as logician, dialecticians, and it is true that there is some similarity between Ming Jia and the sophist, the logician, and the dialecticians. But it is also true they are not quite the same. Okay, to avoid confusion, okay, it is better to translate Minjia literally as school of names. This translation also helped to bring to the attention of Westerners one of the important problems discussed by Chinese philosophy, namely that of the relation between Ming and the Shi. Okay, so basics, what we want to talk about is Ming, okay, which means literally means the name. Shi means things or actuality. So in this way, we can see, okay, school of name is the name we are going to use, but they have sometimes people see them as a sophist, logician, dialecticians, lawyers, and a lot of time people call them debaters. But this word, Chinese call debater, called 辩, okay, disputer, arguer, okay. But this word in Chinese has two-sided meaning. Not only debate, in some way, it also means demarcation, okay. Since Chinese, ancient Chinese word doesn't have some words like reason or logos, nous, like Greek. So these words also have the meaning of reason or reasoning. Okay, so that's its positive reason, positive meaning. Then this word also have its negative or so-called negative meaning is eloquent. You use a beautiful word. You say something to fool other people. So they have the neutral meaning as you debate, you dispute. They have the positive meaning, means you use reason, okay, you logos, okay, you make things clear. And also have the negative meaning, means you eloquent, you speak a lot, you talk a beautiful word. So since next 2,000 years, Confucian school or Confucianism become dominant, okay, dominating the intellectual thought. So the people, the philosopher in school of name being labeled as negative meaning, which is eloquent. Okay, they just say something nonsense just to win the debate. So that becomes the meaning of that. So okay, so that's the name has been confused and being used for 1,000 years. So here, the school of names, Feng Youlan said, okay, he called this one the fourth school other than the other, right? Minjia, or the school of name. The follower of this school were interested in the distinction between and the relation of what they call name and actualities. So here's a few things in the history through the Chinese. For example, like Sima Qian, okay, records of the great historian. We will use this one a lot. Okay, basically his comment is the school of names make people frugal. Okay, he used the word frugal. That means people become overcautious in the language, because if you say something wrong, they are going to catch and they say, okay, what do you mean this is wrong? So become frugal or be overcautious in language and unable to see the truth. So that's Sima Qian, okay, it's comment about this school. But he also said they have some positive opinion, but rectifying the names and the actuality is an important study. So Sima Qian, as a historian, recognized the school of names, they have positive meaning to make it clear between name and actuality. Another great book called the Book of Han, Treatise of Literature, which is about the comment of the historical book. This one was written about after aggression, so that's the 30 CE. Okay, so the comment is those of the school of names has their origin in the minister of ceremonies. So the author believed that these people in the school of names, their tradition is the minister of ceremonies, or you call the ritual, because in the ancient, what's the title and the position are different. The ceremonies according to them were also different. Okay, so here the author believes the school of names start from the minister of ceremony, because when you do ceremonial ritual, you have your position and you have your job title. For this reason, they need to be very clear on what's the title and what's the job. And that's the beginning or the origin of school of names. And then you also have a comment, but the radical just make the language clear. Okay, so this one is another way to read this comment is the school of name basics, they are mere linguistic. Okay, they only deal with linguistics. Okay, they deal with language only. They don't go to the real philosophy. They only deal with language. That's another comment on this school. So before we go to any one of the philosopher or the philosophical ideas, okay, so I will stop here. And if you have question, comment, anything not clear, suggestion, okay, please raise your hand. Brenda, please.
Yes, Jason, I just have a question. I noticed that you were quoting from a page 31 and a page 33.
Yeah.
And I'm new here, as you know, and I still don't have my hard copy of the text. Are you quoting from our text, or is that a different source?
Okay, so the if you look at the meta page, right, I post a PDF version. Okay, so like this one. Okay, if you go to the meta page, right? Okay, you click the book. It's a free. Okay, there's a PDF. You go there, and here is the page number. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. And then if you buy the book from from Amazon, there's the two versions. One is the same page number, and some people buy the book with Chinese on one side, English on the other side, and the page number will be different. Then probably a little bit difficult. But every week I only cover about 5-6 pages, so to find the page should not be that difficult.
Okay, so it is from our text then, right?
Yeah, from the text,
Okay.
from the reading.
Yeah, thank you.
I try my best to make it clear, but since they have a different version.
Well, I'm new, so I'm trying to figure it out. But thank you. I ordered mine, but I just don't have it yet. Thanks so much.
I think that's a great book. I think everyone should order or at least keep a copy of PDF version. I think that's worth to read it or to keep it. Okay, we have Elizabeth, Mark, and Barbara. Elizabeth, please.
Hi, Jason. I just wanted to ask, like, I'm familiar with, Confucius quotes and Confucius works, but I'm not familiar with the other ones mentioned, like the other thinkers.
Mhm.
How do we like, learn more about that? Is that through the text you were just talking about, the PDF, or like where do we learn about the other Chinese thinkers?
Okay, so I think at least that's my goal. Okay, so I call this a meetup 101 and 102. So that means if you have no, as you claim you don't know other school, you should be able to understand for today the school of names. Okay, and if you see you are totally lost, that definitely that's my fault. So please let me know. Okay, so okay, I don't know. Okay, I still don't get it. Okay, so that's my fault. So if you don't know anything, okay, as long as you can read, okay, even without reading, I believe you should be able to get something from there. 102 means if you already know something, okay, and I believe, okay, by my presentation, will at least stimulate a new idea, and I believe this text is different than what you can search from the internet. So that's my point of view. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mark and Barbara. Mark, please.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. The actuality that that you used in contrast to Ming, the character, Shi. Do you know the opinion and tone number for that? I'm trying to find that character, and I can't really read it in the handout, and I don't know how to look it up in pinyin.
Okay, so I will show you the next slide. The next section, I will
Okay.
spend I will talk a little bit about the Ming and the Shi, or we call the names and the actuality. Yes,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Barbara, please.
Well, I just wanted to check something out. I thought, did I just hear you say that people who critique this school say that it's all about linguistics? But it seems to me that it's about how language and some sort of either sense data or basic reality maybe line up. Would you
Yes.
say yes? Okay,
Mhm.
thank
Yeah, because we I just give present the general comment first, then we go to the real philosophy. So if I reverse, you may not ask this question. I present a few people, then we talk about how people comment about them. Then you may not ask this question, but I just try to follow Feng Youlan's logic. He start from this historical comment, then he go to the philosophical idea. Okay, that's why you will ask this question. But pretty soon you will know what we are talking about, and you will see you can view them as two different views, as a linguistic or they are doing philosophy. So first one, we will deal with probably we should call minor Deng Xi. And if you were here in about last month, we talked about a philosopher called Yang Zhu. I talked about a story about Zhican and his two brother, licentious brother. Okay, and he always consult with a person called Deng Xi. And at that time, people ask about who is Deng Xi, and here is talking about and that. Okay, he's not that important, but since Feng Youlan put in the book, and let's talk about this. Okay, so right now I'm answering Mark's question about name and actuality. Okay, so name, okay, we call Ming, right? And Shi means actuality. Sometimes we call a thing. Okay, it may sound odd, but if you're familiar with Western philosophy, you may not be. You will understand quite easy, right? It start from Aristotle, start to talk about the subject and the predicate. A subject is Shi, is actuality. A predicate is the name, right? Something describe the actual thing, the actuality. So example would be Confucius is a teacher. So Confucius is actually a person, actuality, is a teacher, right? So teacher is the name, right? So you can say Confucius is subject, is a teacher is a predicate to describe Confucius. So in Chinese tradition, you call actuality and the name, or you want to call Socrates is a philosopher. So Socrates is actuality, is a thing. Philosopher is the name, right? So that's all, I would say all school has to deal with this kind of idea in Chinese, ancient Chinese philosophy. Same as in the most of Western philosophy, we will always deal with particular and universal, right? This is a cat. Cat is a thing describe this, which is actuality. And so the idea is Confucius is a teacher. We assign Confucius as a thing, a particular thing, and actuality to teacher. Okay, so we can say it's a thing and assigned to a name. Particular assigned to universal. A subject, we assign the subject to predicate. Okay, a reality of the thing, which is Confucius, right? You will assign them to an abstract idea, which is teacher, because you don't see you only see the example of teacher, but you don't see teacher as a teacherness, right? That's a thing. So it's not a thing. You always see the example. So that's the basic idea. Actually, I should claim in all ancient Chinese philosophy, or in all philosophies. But this school of name, particularly specifically deal with the relationship between name and actuality. So that's the thing here. And the one most famous example is rectification of name, which is the most important Confucius teaching about this, right? So he famous talking about the Duke Jing of Qi as Confucius about government. Okay, how to government. He said that the ruler be ruler, or the prince is a prince, minister, father, son, right? So basically, if being a ruler, you should act like a ruler. If you are minister, you act like a minister. If you are father, you should act like a father. And you are son, act like a son. So we talk about this when we talk about Confucius. And then in other way, Confucius take the name, which we call predicate or abstract idea, has a moral sense. Okay, you put the duty on that. When you are a teacher, you have the teacher's moral behavior. You have the teacher's duty. If you are being called philosopher, Socrates is a philosopher, then you should act like a philosopher. They have the moral sense on that. So that's important in Confucius idea. So in the school of name, okay, first person we introduce is Deng Xi. Okay, here's a few comments about Deng Xi. Deng Xi, since he doesn't have written book, okay, left, so we don't know. We only can see his behavior. But interesting, we can see from 吕氏春秋, okay, this book, you talk about Zhican. Deng Xi, he was a native of that state, the Zheng state, was his major opponent, Zhican's opponent. He used to help people in their lawsuit, for which service he would demand a coat as a fee, or for the major case, or a pair of trousers for minor case. Okay, so you can sound like today's lawyer, right? So he defend for people. All right. So in another way, it's typical Plato called sophist, right? Because their position can change, right? You may support this one, you may oppose this one, you may against this one, you may for this one. Depends on who pay you. Okay, so that's a typical sophist. And according to Feng Youlan's writing, he will claim that Deng Xi, is the first lawyer. Okay, so it's about earlier than Confucius. And then that's his idea. Okay, so there's a few comment. In general, it's not a good comment. So, for example, somebody talk about he like to deal with strange theory and indulge in curious proposition. Okay, the strange argument and strange proposition. And Yu Shunju also talk about his argument is paradoxical. In general, it's a negative comment. Okay, let's look at the person. Okay, Deng Xi's trick was to interpret the formal letter of the law in such a way as to give varying interpretation in different cases at will. This was how he was able to conduct minute examination of trifling position in complicated, elaborate statement, which made it impossible for others to refuse his debate. So that's a typical sophist situation. And he devoted himself to interpreting and analyzing the letter of law. So important thing is Deng Xi see the law, okay, as the name, and he has a free will to interpret the name. He find out the name is not fixed, so he interpret the name as he want, as he wish, same as today's lawyer, right? While disregarding the spirit and its connection with actuality. In other words, his attention was directed to name instead of actuality. He only look at the name, okay, and then find a way to interpret to the way they want. So they are debater, original lawyer among Deng Xi, and then analyze the name. So according to Feng Youlan, okay, he said he has no contribution to philosophy. So when we talk about law, and one thing also mentioned in the book, and I think it's quite important, a lot of people may get, for the people who know other Chinese philosophical school, may get confused with so-called the legalist school. So here we should mention here is legalists are not lawyers. Okay, so legalists are politicians, not lawyers. They are different. So they call 法家. Okay, we will mention in about 1 month. Okay, that's a legalism school. 法, okay, in Chinese, most Western translation translates legal. That's why they call this school legalist. But 法 have another meaning in Chinese word, means method. So actually, legalism should be named Methodist. So they are deal with method. In another way, they take the names as the means. They use the name as a law or to achieve their goal, okay, which is different than lawyer. Lawyers interpret the law. They use the law. So in the legalism, they have the 3 sub-school. One called 士, they deal with power, okay, and the second deal with the statecraft, and the third one deal with written laws, and which they are not interpreting law. They use law for reward and punishment. So this part is try to clear the confuse between legalism and the lawyer. And according to Feng Youlan, okay, Deng Xi as a lawyer is not that important in school of names. And the more important is the other 2 philosophers he want to discuss, especially Hui Shi and Gongsun Long. And Hui Shi is very important, so I probably will spend most time on Hui Shi. So before I go to Hui Shi, and then I will stop for question, comment. Joe, please.
So just quickly, Jason, how do you actually feel about this? Because the way it's described, I don't see much difference between legalism and lawyering. It seems very much, just sophistry, just throwing the words out there.
Okay, so legalists are politicians. They are not loyal. A lawyer can become politician, right? But politicians are not always loyal. So politicians can have many ways to achieve their goal. They can use military force. They can use legal. They can use their position to threat you. Okay, so they are legalist. Okay, they are not loyal. Lawyer will spend time to interpret the law. What do you mean murder, second-degree murder? So there's the definition on that. So that's what we call lawyer. Is that clear?
As clear as it's possible to be. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so they are very, and I think that this translation called legalist, and which become very popular in the Western philosophy. They all know, people all know. In Chinese, have one school called legalist. So the name called legal actually is wrong. Okay, because Chinese word 法 not only means legal or law, also means method. So you should call them Methodist. Okay, because they use different methods, basic reward and the punishment to help the ruler, okay, to make their state strong. Okay, so that's their goal. Okay, thank you for Joe's comment. And you may want to ask, Deng Xi is a real person or not? So any other comment or question? No? Okay, so let's talk about Hui Shi. Okay, just a quick introduction. Okay, if you have been with this group through last year, we spent a lot of time talking about Zhuangzi, the book. Okay, study Zhuangzi, you will always run into this famous story and the so-called happy fish. Okay, happy fish argument. And we all know Zhuangzi and Hui Shi are good friends. Okay, they live in the same time. They always argue against each other. But of course, we read, Hui Shi doesn't have a book left, and we only have a Zhuangzi. So Hui Shi's philosophy, we always get it from Zhuangzi. And of course, the debate between Hui Shi and the Zhuangzi, you can guess who is the winner. The winner is Zhuangzi, right? Never Hui Shi, but of course it's biased. So Hui Shi, the quick history, Hui Shi is native state of Song. It's in the southern part in today's Henan. He is the prime minister of King Hui of Wei. Okay, Wei Hui-wen. He is a famous feudal lord. If you're familiar with the cook Din, okay, the cook who cut the ox. Okay, so that's the king. Okay, we will talk about this later. Okay, his writing is lost, and the famous is 10 point. We are going to introduce 10 point, right? And but the 10 points we don't have Hui Shi's own writing, so we only can have it from Zhuangzi, the last chapter. Chapter 33, the world or under the heaven, talk about this 10 point. And that's we are going to talk today about the 10 point. I think that's quite interesting. Okay, so quickly about the happy fish argument. And a lot of people probably know and probably read a few times. And I think that I can quickly talk about one more time, doesn't take too long. And we are not going to have a further discuss on this argument. You just keep in your mind. And when next time when you read Zhuangzi, you may run into the same story. Zhuangzi and Hui Zi, okay, were walking on the dam over Hao River. Okay, when Zhuangzi said, these fishes came out and play about their ease, at their ease. This is the enjoyment of fishes. Hui Shi said, you are not a fish. How do you know the enjoyment of fishes? Zhuangzi said, you are not I. how do you know that? I do not know the enjoyment of fishes. Then Hui Shi argue against. I'm not you, so I don't know what you know. You certainly not a fish. It's clear that you don't know the enjoyment of fishes. So to this point, you will know, what's Hui Shi's argument, the argument between you and me. You know what you know, and you don't know what I know. And the Zhuangzi's reply, let's keep to your original question. You said to me, how do you know the enjoyment of fish? You knew that, I knew it, and yet you put your question to me. Well, I know it over the Hao River. And the last line is being debated for 1,000 years. And what Zhuangzi means, okay, there's many theory about it. And we're not going to discuss detail on this one. I just want to introduce the general story. There's many debate between Zhuangzi and Hui Shi, and this is one of the most famous one. And then we are going to move to the most important is Hui Shi's 10-point. Okay, Fei Wu, please.
Sorry, I didn't understand the last sentence.
Yeah, I think you will keep it. Then let's talk about this one. You mean the last sentence of this one?
Yes.
Yes, it's a difficult one. That's a difficult, and I think we talk about many times because many theory about. But my understanding is Zhuangzi is taking the word of 安知, okay, because 安 this word has a double meaning. It means where, also means how. Okay, so when Huizi asks how do you know, he also asks where do you know. So Zhuangzi go back to original question, say I know it from the bridge of the river. Okay. That's my understanding. But of course, people have a different interpretation. So we are not going to discuss this one because it will take for a long time. And then when we talk about Zhuangzi, we may have time to talk about this. Yeah, thank you, Fei Wu. Yeah. So let's go to the 10-point. We can take a quick look on this 10-point, and I think Feng did a relatively very good job to go through this 10-point because I read this 10-point, and they just as most of traditional reading, people say, oh, that's paradoxic. Okay, paradoxic, there's no further meaning because he just argued. But Feng really give a very good explanation. But unfortunately, he packed everything in one page. Okay, and so I don't know how, for the person who read the text, how do you feel? At least I find out it's probably not very clear. So I think that I will be happy to explain one by one. And I think that's interesting, okay, to go. Okay, and so first one, the Chinese read as 自大无外，谓之大一；自小无内，谓之小一。Okay, translation: the greatest has nothing outside it. It is called the great one. The smallest has nothing inside it. It is called the small one. So here, Hui Shi is still. Remember when we talk about names and actuality, Hui Shi is deal with actualities. Even though he's in the school of names, but he deal with the actuality because his point is there's no way to assign a name to actualities, okay, within our experience. But you only can assign the name to actualities outside our experience. So here he's talking about the if you want to say something is great, you always can find something greater than that. So there's nothing but great. If you want to say something is small, you always can find something smaller than that. So there's nothing really small, okay? Unless you go beyond your experience, okay? In another way, not synthetical proposition, take as analytical proposition. So define, that's the great one, that's the small one, just like atom. Okay, that's the very small one, nothing smaller than this, outside our experience. But if you take into your own experience, you always can find something smaller than that or bigger than that. The best explain is Zhuangzi's explain here. If we call a thing great because it is greater than something else, then there is nothing in the world that is not great. Everything can be great, right? But you can always find something, even a tip of hair, you can find something small, it can be greater than something else. If we call a thing small because it is smaller than something else, then there is nothing in the world that is not small. Okay, so this one is from Zhuangzi's Autumn Flood. I think it's chapter 70. Okay, that's the one he explained. Okay, the great and the small are relative within our experience. Okay, you only can define great and small outside our experience. Then he has more example. This one also interesting. The second point. That which has no sickness cannot increase in sickness, but it can be so great to cover 1,000 miles. Okay, so this one is talking about the concept of surface, two-dimensional surface, right? So if you talk about a two-dimensional surface, the thickness can be as thin as possible. We call it small, but the width and the length can be as large as possible. We call it large. So is that the great, small, and the large? The confused part is here, right? So you can be as large as you can at the same time as small as you can. So the thickness and the small and the large also can coexist in one thing. That's what Hui is talking about his second point. Third point, he's talking about the sky is as low as the land. Mountains are on the same level as marshes. Okay, so basically he's talking about the height and the low are also relative, right? So if the example is if you take the God's eye view or bird's eye view, right? You see, you fly. You see when you fly from the airplane, right? Mountain and the river looks the same height. Okay, so that's he's talking about the height and the low also relative. Number 4, the sun at the noon is the sun declining. The creature born is the creature dying, right? So when you see sunrise, actually sun is going to sunset. An animal, a creature was born, actually the only destination he's walking is dying. Okay, so this one is talking about the change, the work is changing, okay, becoming, it's always changing, right? You see something still, it's not really still, its beginning is toward to the end. Motion and the stillness are relative, depending on how you look at. Another way you can think about is from the Greek time, the Zeno of Iliad, talking about flying arrow, right? When you shoot at the arrow from point A to point B, and but it take any instantaneous moment, they are still. Okay, so that's the paradox or relative argument he's talking about. Motion and stillness are the same. Number 5 is a little bit difficult and complex, but I think the translation has a little bit problem because, but basically talking about genus and the species, similarity and the difference. he's talking about there's two kinds of difference. One kind of difference called little difference of little similarity. Okay. Another kind he called the great similarity, and okay, I think the better translation should be the difference of great similarity. And this one called the difference of little similarity. One example is we are human also animal. Let's say human and the dog are both animals. So what make a human different than dog? Because human and the dog have little similarity. So the difference between human and the dog called the difference of little similarity. Okay, the difference of little similarity and the difference. Okay. Among humans, you and me, we all humans, but we have a great similarity. Okay, so we are in the same species. So this one is called great similarity, which is another way to call it the difference of great similarity. So the argument here is for the unity of similarity and the difference. Another way to look at it is actually similarity and the difference are relative. There's no clear boundary. Okay. So if we read Darwin's Origin of Species, and we will find out Darwin also deal with this a lot. He talking about the genus and the species. The line, where's the line? Okay, it's kind of random because we deal. I think he used the word is not similarity or difference. He called it affinity and variety. So Darwin spent a lot of time in his text, a lot of time deal with affinity. So I think that's the concept Hui Shi bring up here. Number 6, the South has no limit, but it has a limit. Okay, so here we should know the condition during that time. They live, relatively speaking, they are on the northern part of China. Okay, even I call Hui Shi's state of Song is in the south, but you know it's so-called South Henan, still northern part. During that time, they say South is kind of Shanghai and Hong Kong, this kind of place. That's barbarian. They never reach there. So when they talk about South is kind of all jungle, endless. So he said South has no limit, but has a limit. So in a way, he's talking about the deep South seems unlimited because nobody have ever reached the end in experience. But in theory, everything has a limit. Okay, so that's why he is talking about the limited and unlimited base is relative. There's no clear definition what's limited or unlimited. Number 7. This one also a little bit stretched. 今是月而袭来. 月 is a faraway state, okay, in the south. Actually, in today's standard, it's not that far. It's only in Shanghai. But during that time, whenever you read the text talk about Yue, this state, that means very far away state. So he said, I go to Yue today and arrive there yesterday. Here he's talking about time is relative. The situation is this. We all live, let's assume during that time, everybody only live on the northern part, okay? And sometimes people will travel to the south, okay? You always hear people say, I'm going to Yue today, okay? I'm going to Yue today, okay? I'm leaving today, okay? Nobody say, I left yesterday because he's not here. So, but when people come back, will tell you, I was there. I was in Yue yesterday. I was in Yue last month. Is that strange? Okay. You always hear people talk about, I'm going today. But here people say, I arrived 2 months ago. So the time is relative, right? So you live today but arrive yesterday. That's he's talking about. Number 8, 连环可解, that connected ring can be separated. Okay. Here, the two interpretations. One is talking about continuity and discontinuity. Any continuous string or anything, they have their disconnected part. That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is talking about construction and destruction. They are relative. I think Feng Youlan make an example. It's like a table, right? If you see a table, it's construction, right? Because you construct a table. But from the point of view of a tree, it's destruction. Okay, you have to cut down the tree, polish the tree, you destruct the tree, then make a table. So in a way, you can say it's we construct a table or we destruct a tree. Okay, so that's the argument, his relative here, his relativity here. Number 9, he called, I know the center of the world is the north of Yan. Okay, that's the north part, and the south of Yue, which is Shanghai. Okay, so during that time, people see Yan as the north part, Yue as the south part. So the center should be on the south of Yan and the north of Yue. But you still can reverse if you take the sphere, okay, on the other side, a circular point of view, okay. You can say the north of Yan and the south of Yue, also the center, okay. He's talking about another side. So here he's talking about the direction are also relative. So that's his 9th point. And then actually he has his own moral teaching on that. That's come to the 10th point. Okay, talk about loving all things equally. Heaven and earth are one body. Okay, so actually that's what Hui Shi want to talk about. He's not just trying to argue. He has his moral sense here. So all things are related, and the state of flux is becoming, right? Here's no absolute difference, no absolute separation among them. Everything is constantly changed into something else. It is logical conclusion there. Therefore, that all things are one, and hence that we should love all things equally without discrimination. So everything is one. So that's the same as Zhuangzi also put a comment here. If we see things from the point of view of their difference, even my liver and gall are as far as the state of Chu and Yue. Okay, so your internals, gall and the liver, supposed to be very close. But if you want to see them from the different point of view, you can say they are very far away. Same thing, if you want always find the difference to your neighbor or your brothers, then you can find out you are very far away. If we see things from the point of view of their similarity, all things are one. So in this point of view, the moral lesson will be, you should treat everything the same because they are not much difference. Actually, that's Hui Shi's philosophy. You to summarize in this 10 point. And the Zhuangzi also talked about so-called 天地一子万物一马. We will talk about later, but basically talk about heaven and the earth is one essence, is one thing. And everything living here actually is one name, the same. We call ma, horse. Okay, so everything the same. So this one is kind of conclusion in Zhuangzi's chapter 2. Okay, the equality of things. So here you can see the connection. Even the Taoism, Zhuangzi argue against Hui Shi, but they have the same flavor, okay, in their philosophy. So I stop here and then question, comment about this 10 point if you are interested. I hope I make it clear.
Hello, I just joined, so I just want to say hello. I
Okay.
was part of that, and it's very interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome. Comment, questions, please. Barbara and Brenda. Barbara, please.
Well, I think that this is meant to signify that there is no absolute. You even said that.
Yeah, according to Hui Shi, there's no absolute. Yes.
Right. But there was one little point on the first slide that sounded like he was saying there is. Now I can't. Can we go back?
Yeah, this one. Yes. He talked about the absolute should be beyond our experience. Okay, in our experience. So there's something beyond. Okay, so because today our thinking has been tuned to the Western philosophy. So we will have, say, metaphysically speaking, right? They have the limited, okay, they have the largest one. But empirically or physically, you cannot find one. So in Chinese language, we'll say beyond and within. I think we will talk about this one. Beyond the image and the shape, or within the image and the shape. Okay, that's the Chinese language. So in this world, what we can experience, there's no absolute. But who knows the outside? We might believe they have one. Okay, so I think that would be the explanation on this one.
Okay, thanks.
Brenda, please.
Jason, I think you said that this man lived around 300 BC. And at this time, most Chinese were, agricultural, living very close to the land. I mean, this is true pretty much throughout the whole world, living very close to the land and very observant of natural processes.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to me when I read through this list that it's very related to Taoism, just the built-in integral system of thinking that occurs in people that are not exposed to the written word and a lot of analysis and logic, but do live very close to nature and observe creation and destruction as on an everyday basis. And they tend to see the world more like a Taoist would see the world rather than the Western mind.
Thank you for your comment, and I think your conclusion is right. Okay, so first, most of the people are agricultural. Okay, but again, it's a agricultural state during that time. Okay, the nature is important. Okay, and then it's very close to Taoism, especially to Zhuangzi. Even Zhuangzi is strongly opposed what Hui Shi talking about. But he argued against him. But actually, he's continued from his philosophy. And the Feng Youlan also draw this conclusion because they debate all the time, but they're still the best friend. Okay, so right now we are going to deal with the second philosopher, Gongsun Long. Okay, I put a hyphen here because his last name is Gongsun. Okay, Gongsun is a double name, and they usually means the descendant of Duke. Okay, so today probably don't have a lot of people have this last name, but during that time, Gongsun probably represent his nobilities. So we are lucky. Gongsun Long has the book, okay, left. Okay, and again, we don't know the person actually exists or not, but the book is there. Okay, and it's simple. Okay, if you go to C-text, you can find it, and I think they have English translation. It's very simple. Okay, 6 chapters, and then I this here, and I may only discuss the white horse, which is the most famous. Probably a lot of people heard about this. And the second most famous is hardness and whiteness, so-called 兼白论, hardness and white. And then we talk about his more philosophical thinking about 此物, pointing at thing. Okay, another way to translate is called essence of thing. I think it will sound very Aristotelian philosophy, but so we'll go through this one. So the text is pretty simple. I think I probably copy the entire text on this chapter, White Horse. Basics, it's a dialogue. Can it be a white horse, not a horse? The answer is yes. Okay, when I say B means the Gongsun Long's answer. Also, horse denotes shape, white denotes a color. That which denotes color is not that which denotes shape. Thus, I say a white horse is not a horse. So you cannot say, I have no horse if you have a white horse, right? Having a white horse is having a horse. So a white horse is a horse. So they argue against Gongsun Long. And Gongsun Long argue is if a horse is required, a yellow horse or a black horse may be brought forward. But when a white horse is required, a yellow horse or white horse cannot be brought forward. Okay, so if a white horse is a horse, both requests should be the same. Since these two requests are different, a white horse is not a horse. Okay, so the second part is, let's put it this way. I would like to explain on the second part this way, right? So let me see. Okay, so I think next one will be much clearer. All horses have a color. There are no colorless horses. According to your argument, there are no horses in the world. Okay, so here he said, horses necessarily have a color. Thus, there are white horse. A white horse is white and horse. White and horse are not the same as horse. Therefore, a white horse is not a horse. Two ways to explain this one, okay? First, he's talking white horse is not a horse. Another way to understand this one is tied to Chinese language. If you know Chinese language, you will know every word in Chinese character can be used as noun, as verb, as adjective, as adverb. Okay, so for example, white or 白, that would be exactly the same character, the same pronunciation, and never change. Okay, there's no change form of the word, right? You can mean a white adjective or whiteness, talk about the essence of the white. You can point to as a white things, okay? Or you can use as a verb, make something white. That's the same thing. So the argument is white horse, not horse. Basically, very simple, right? Negation. A white horse, not horse. So this one is very specific to Chinese language, because when you talk about white horse, it also means the whiteness and horseness, right? So whiteness and horseness, of course, is not the same as horseness, because there's two things together cannot be the same thing. So that's why, this argument can sustain in Chinese language. And another argument sounds a little bit lengthy, but here it's talking about is another. Let's assume in my stable I have many kind of horse, right? I have a brown horse, I have a black horse, I have let's say red horse. So if you ask me, bring me a horse, I can bring any horse, okay? That's a horse, all right? But if you ask me, bring me a white horse, I will say, no, I don't have horse. I don't have a white horse. So in this case, he argued, Gongsun Long argued, a white horse is not horse, because when you ask a horse, I can bring you a horse. But when you ask for a white horse, I cannot bring anyone. So that means white horse is not horse. So that's his argument on the white horse, and it's not horse. Okay. So second thing I would like to talk about is another chapter, so-called hot white stone. Okay, the text also very simple. Okay, so it talk about hot white stone. I show the picture here, right? It's a two thing or three thing or one thing. No, it's two things, right? Because it's hot stone and white stone. Okay, because the hot stone is from touching, it's tactile. Okay, you touch it, and the white is through visual. So when you touch, you don't see. When you see, you don't touch. So of course, there's two things. So in the picture here, white stone is two things, because hot stone and white stone. That's Gongsun Long's argument. Okay, and here's another funny argument about the a yellow cow and a yellow horse. Okay, how many things in yellow? A yellow cow and a yellow horse. He will say three. Okay, yellowness, horseness, and cowness. So there's the three things. He also argued chicken has three legs because it has the legness, left leg and the right leg. So that's his argument on this one. So he has this a few of his argument here. And what he want to set is here. He want to talk about the concept of universal. So he used the word finger. In Chinese, if you know Chinese, it's called 指 means pointing. Okay. 指 means pointing. Okay. So it also have the same pronunciation as this word. 指 means essence, universe, something. So Formulan's explanation is here. It's not the subjective idea of David Hume or of George Berkeley. It's about the idea of a Platonic form. So through this argument, Gongsun Long want to bring out is when we use name, name have its essence. This essence has never changed. Okay, so we need to focus on the essence here. So I will kind of pause here for a second because that's his argument, and I will take some question or comment. How do you think on this argument? Fred, please.
Seems like two sides of the same coin. That Hui Shi, is that how you?
Hui Shi, yeah.
Hui Shi. He's talking about how things are relative and changeable, according to the text, the Yuan text. Whereas Gongsun Long says that names are absolute and permanent. So
yes,
to combine the things, names are absolute, and
yes,
individuals, things are relative and changeable.
yes.
Now, what's odd about this is that when it's called the school of names, I immediately thought that, well, that's nominalism, right? And maybe philosophy. When actually it's just the opposite of that, because nominalism asserts that individuals have reality, and these classifications that we assign to individuals are just human-made provisional names that we attach to the real, actual things. So it's kind of the names are what are relative and changeable, and the things are what are effectively stable. And one example of that, he uses an example through here of table, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
And to say that a table is something absolute and permanent, there are all sorts of kind of border cases. For example, a bench. Is a bench a table? Usually we think of bench as something different than a table. It's short, squatter. But on the other hand, I have a workbench which serves for me as a table. In every respect, it's effectively a table. So is this workbench a bench, or is a workbench a table, or are there three things here, or four? So it all gets a little confused. However, this thing that I use as a table is pretty concrete and is not relative and changeable. I can call it workbench, bench, or table, and I can kind of go back and forth between those. But whereas the thing has, I wouldn't say permanence, but as long as it exists and is not destroyed, it has stability. So, so what was confusing to me was that the school of names is not really nominalism, right? There's a distinction.
Yes, they are not nominalist. And actually, if you deal with nominalism and realist, right? So it kind of reverse. And I think even we study the Western philosophy about nominalism is still very confused. Okay, at least for me. Okay, very difficult part. Sounds easy, but actually it's a very difficult part. So here I can answer or try to make it clear is this. You call it school of names is also misleading, right? Because like Fred, you talk about, you thought it's nominalist, okay, or nominalism, but they are not. They probably, if we talk about Hui Shi, he is, should we call realism? Okay, because he focused on the actuality, the things, okay? And he tried to say, every name we give to these things is relative, right? You call it tall, okay, you always find somebody taller than you and you are short. You call this one big, it could be small. Then you cannot find the name on that. Gongsun Long on the other side, he want to talk about the essence, okay? And then the tall, he want to talk about the meaning of tallness, okay? So one way to resolve this one is Hui Shi is deal with our empirical world, and Gongsun Long is deal our metaphysical world, okay, our outside. At least, that's the only way, at least for me, to resolve this conflict. And again, you can say you should not put these two persons in the same school because in the way they are opposite. That's the only thing I can answer. But thank you, Fred, for your.
And I have another question. Thanks for clarifying that. You had mentioned that Hui Shi is really only known through secondary works, through the Zhuangzi.
Yeah.
This isn't brought out in the short history, in Yulan's short history, but in the longer history, it's a very negative account.
Oh, you read the other version?
Yeah, the other version. I mean, in this other version, the Zhuangzi really bashes
Oh, yes,
Yes.
I read that part. Okay, yes. So Zhuangzi really based it on that. Okay, so that's Zhuangzi and the Hui Shi. If you read in the Zhuangzi has always argues them and then criticize him a lot. Okay, but yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
So then the question would be how reliable is that if we only get it by somebody who's a
Yes, that's not reliable. That's why I think at least I think Formula's exploitation of this 10 point, okay, is reliable in my point of view, okay, because this one exists in Tianxia, the chapter 33, which is written, we believe, is written much later time. I mean, after Zhuangzi. So it's kind of the people who consolidate, okay, different philosophies and put in the chapter 33. Because chapter 33 is a good chapter, which kind of go over different philosophy during that time. So I would say, well, of course, the text is not right, but at least this 10 point is legitimate. Okay, I have to guess. So.
And the other thing that comes out in the longer history is that the school of names and Hui Shi in particular are really pretty iconoclastic. The criticism that was launched against them, for example, includes that their teachings cannot serve as systematic regulations for government, that they were kind of rebels in a way, who defied authority.
Okay, I would like to know, when you read the long history, who's criticized? Is it Formula's criticizing or Zhuangzi's criticizing?
Oh, Zhuangzi's criticizing.
Zhuangzi, right?
Definitely, yeah.
I read a few paragraphs in Zhuangzi. There's a lot of criticize, okay, about Hui Shi, but that's why, you know, we don't take the criticized part. We only take the his own part, okay, because we will take Zhuangzi's criticized part when we read Zhuangzi, and we will not take Zhuangzi's the criticized part when we read School of Name. That's the way to read it.
Right. Yeah. That's the good way. That's a good way to present it.
Yeah. Because
we have to acknowledge that there's a lot of animosity that we're kind of
that's true.
Softening here in the presentation.
Yeah, and then it's fun. To me, it's fun to read Zhuangzi because Zhuangzi like criticize School of Name, and he also criticizes the Confucius. That's another fun part to read, right? So that's when we read Zhuangzi. But when we read Confucius or read School of Name, we don't take Zhuangzi's criticism seriously. So.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that's a great discussion on this part, and I just want to say through the history, all the Chinese scholars, well, I should not say all, most of them, I probably never heard good words about School of Names. Okay, when I was in Taiwan, and when I tried to read commentary about the Chinese philosophies, probably I haven't heard good words about them. Okay, and at least Feng Youlan and some of Western secondary sources appreciate, okay, Hui Shi and Gongsun Long's effort on this one. So I think that's very important and to pay attention on this philosophy. So I probably will skip this part, and the last part I want to talk is about the rectification of name. Okay, so the question is, why Gongsun Long talk about this? Okay, of course, we don't have the text, and we only can deduce from the 10 point, not 10 point, from his book, 6th chapter, to see what he want to talk about. I think he has a chapter called The Name and the Things. Okay, I think that's chapter 6 he want to talk about. Okay, so here, rectification of name is always important in ancient Chinese philosophy. So this basics, what Gongsun Long want to do is calling a thing by its correct name. So the names, just like Fred, you talk about things, Hui Shi and Gongsun Long, in a way they are opposite, right? Hui Shi want to do is try to prove to you in this real world, empirical world, the particular cannot have a proper name. Okay, you cannot get a proper name. Gongsun Long, on the opposite, he's talking about the correct name, which is universal. We should make sure this name has been assigned to the thing properly. So these two, let them talk to each other. They are probably 100 years apart. If let them talk to each other, they probably cannot match, okay? Because one try to prove there's no name can match to a thing. And another one try to say we should find the proper name to attach to a thing, okay? So again, that's Gongsun Long's idea of rectification of name. Unlike Confucius talking about the name has a moral sense and is dutiful to behave as the name requires. He's more talking about is a confusion of name is the direct cause of social disorder. So when the names are confused, men no longer know what to live by. So that's his idea of rectification of name. And then we compare to different schools, right? Taoism, we are going to talk about next week. Laozi, Dao De Jing, the first chapter is talking about the Dao can be spoken. It's not the real Dao. Or the name can be named. It's not the real name. So basically from the first chapter, they reject the name. So according to Laozi, Dao De Jing, name is not important. Okay, the real thing is nameless. So in a way, they inherit from school of the name, but reject them. Okay, Zhuangzi also famous on the equality of things, talking about heaven and the earth is one essence. All things is one name. Okay, so that's the Taoism idea. And then we talk about legalism. Okay, they treat the name another way. Okay, their reclamation name means correct name of reward and the punishment. They use this name to as a clear law or code for the people to behave properly. So in one way, we can say all or most of ancient Chinese philosophy are dealing with rectification of names, but they treat name differently. So here, let's draw the final conclusion on Feng Youlan's writing. And I think his conclusion is, I may not 100% agree with him because Feng Youlan is famous for his own philosophy. He is so-called the new Confucianism. So his goal is to resurrect Confucianism. Okay, so his idea always want to tie everything to the proper Confucian teaching. Okay, which I think sometimes he put too much effort on that. So, but anyway, since I respect his writing and I think his argument still worth for us to think about and to study. So that's his conclusion. Hui Shi emphasized the fact that actual things, which is actuality, are changeable, are relative. So he wants loving all things equally. Gongsun Long emphasized on the names are permanent and absolute. I think Barbara or Brenda asked about there's no absolute. Yeah, in the real world, there's no absolute, but the name should be absolute. That's Gongsun Long's idea. So wished to extend his argument in order to correct the relation between name and actuality. So as thus to transform the whole world. That's his moral meaning of philosophy. Okay, you want to transform the world through the proper name. So here, Feng Youlan bring two ideas. One called being that lie within shape and feature, 形象之内, and being that lie beyond the shape and the feature. So within the shape and the feature, that's our empirical world. That's our actuality. They are relative, they are particular, right? They have the Confucius, they have the Socrates, they have Jason, they have this guy, they have this guy, they have the dog, they have the cat. That's all being lie within shape and the feature. And they have another word we may want to call metaphysical word that's beyond, okay? Being that lie beyond shape and the feature. So which is in Kantian way called intelligible word, okay? Or the names which are permanent, universal, right? So that's two words in this way. So Feng Youlan will call within this word as a political leader or something, you should be a sageless within 内圣, okay? So you should become a sage, okay? Here, that's Feng Youlan's philosophy. 内圣外王 translated as the sageless within and the kingless without. As a leader, you should, within your state, you should become a sage, okay, and do all the sage. And the sageliness is not a fixed concept. You should deal with empirical world. And to the outside, beyond the shape and the feature, you should achieve so-called kingliness, Wang, okay? So this name is permanent, and that's your eternal goal. That's Feng Youlan's idea. He tried to tie the school of the name to his new Confucianism. Okay, so I think finally his final conclusion is interesting. Is the Taoists were the opponent of this school, the school of name, but they were also true inheritors. This illustrates the fact that Hui Shi was the great friend of Zhuangzi. And just like Brett said, Zhuangzi also criticized Hui Shi a lot, okay, during this one. So we have a few minutes that I just want everyone can think about this argument, how it's related to Zeno of Ilya, right? It's about 100 years before Hui Shi and Gongsun Long. So he is on the Italian side. Okay, I think he's a disciple of Parmenides. Okay, so famous his four argument, right? He talked about the non-existence of motion. Okay, Atalanta never reached the goal, right? Because she ran health and he's a foot racer, right? He ran health and run a quarter and the eighth quarter, 160. He never reached the goal. Okay, she never reached the goal. Another talk about Achilles, right? Achilles never can catch up a tortoise, right? Because he go to as long as the tortoise is a certain distance in front of him, he reached the point and tortoise already moved ahead and he moved towards the so he never reached. Another famous talk about Zeno's flying arrow at the target, right? You see the arrow flying and then it always at the point, any moment it's resting, but eventually they will reach it. Another one so-called the moving road, the stadium, right? So from this one, it's a little bit complex, but basically it's talking about, here you can see, let's assume every moment B row will move to the right, okay, one step, and the C will move another one step, right? So in this moment 0, B3 and the C1 are lined up, right? And the next moment, B3 will move to A3, right? B3 will move to here. A1 will move to, C1 will move to A1 here, so become lined up, right? So B3 was lined up with B1. Right now, B3 lined up with B3. But the strange thing is, B3, have B3 ever lined up with B2? Look like B3 jump from B1 to C1 to C3. That's the argument, of Zeno. Okay, and of course Zeno have more argument, but I just would like to say these 4 arguments have been discussed in Aristotle's physics, and also in Bertrand Russell's. Okay, I think also, and a lot of they never. I think in the Western philosopher, they never take this argument. Sounds, nonsense in today's point of view. They never take it lightly. They take it serious. Okay, so I think the same way we should take the school of the name, the 10-point, and the white horse is not horse. The white stone, white heart stone. Seriously, okay, we should not just lightly reject the argument for people who put effort a few 2,000 years ago. That's my point, and then I think that's I put in the conclude of today's introduction. And next week we will talk about one of the most famous philosophy, Laozi, 道德经. And actually the timing is matched. Next Tuesday, I do the 道德经 translation. The time is Pacific time 5 to 7, Eastern time 8 to 10. We're going to review the 道德经, the third part, the second part. And the next Saturday, we are going to, in the same time, we are going to talk about Feng Youlan's chapter 9 about Laozi, which is focused on 道德经. So that's all for today. And then we have 5 minutes left. And if you have question, comment, and then please. No comment? Okay, thank you, everyone. I will stop the recording, and then if you